بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعزائي الدارسين في برامج الدراسات العليا ماجستير ودكتوراه في المحاسبة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأهلا ومرحبا بكم في هذا اللقاء الثامن الذي سوف أشرح لكم فيه بمشيئة الله كيفية تطبيق وتنفيذ استراتيجية الأعمال التنافسية في المنشأة، وذلك باستخدام تحليل سلسلة القيمة. Hello dear students, this video of session number 8 is concerned with explaining how to implement a competitive strategy using value chain analysis. Because execution is so important in implementing strategy, managers must implement their firm's strategy at the detail level of operations. This sequence of activities must include all the steps necessary to satisfy customers. Value chain analysis is a means to reach this detailed level of analysis. Value chain analysis is a strategic analysis tool used to better understand the firm's competitive advantage and to identify where value to customers can be increased or costs reduced, and to better understand the firm's linkages with suppliers and customers and other firms in the industry. The activities include all steps necessary to provide a competitive product or service to the customer. For a manufacturer, this starts with product development and new product testing, then materials purchase and manufacturing, and finally sales and service. This is for a manufacturer. But for a service firm, the activities begin with the concept of the service and its design, purpose, and demand, and then move to the set of activities that provide the service to create satisfied customer. Although the value chains are sometimes more difficult to describe for a service firm or a not-for-profit organization, The approach is applied in all types of organizations. An organization might break its operations into dozens or hundreds of activities. In this unit, it is difficult to limit the analysis to no more than 6 or 8 activities. Management can better understand the firm's competitive advantage and strategy by separating its operations according to activity. If the firm succeeds by cost leadership, for example, management should determine whether each individual activity in the value chain is consistent with that overall strategy or not. A careful consideration of each activity should also identify those activities in which the firm is most and least competitive. The value chain can be thought of as 3 main phases in sequence. Phase number 1 is upstream. Phase number 2, operations. And phase number 3, downstream. The upstream phase includes product development and the firm's linkages with suppliers to supply materials and parts. As for the second phase, which is operations, operations refers to the manufacturing operations or for a retailer or service firm, the operations involved in providing the product or service. As for the third stage, which is the downstream phase. Downstream phase refers to linkages with customers, including delivering service and other related activities. Some have referred to the analysis of the upstream phase as supply chain. And to the analysis of the downstream phase as customer relationship management. The determination of which part or parts of the value chain an organization should occupy in a strategic analysis based on the consideration of comparative advantage for the individual firm, that is where the firm can best provide value to the ultimate customer at the lowest possible cost. For example, some firms in the computer manufacturing industry focus on the manufacture of ships, such as Texas Instruments, while others primarily manufacture processors, which is Intel, hard drives as Seagate, or monitors Acer. Some manufacturers, such as Hewlett Packard, combine purchased and manufactured components to manufacture the complete printer or computer. Other Dell depends primarily on purchased components. For example, Apple contracts out all manufacturing to other companies. Samsung, for example, does its own manufacturing. In the sport shoe industry, for example, Reebok manufacturers, they manufacture its shoes and sells them to large retailers. Nike concentrates on design, sales, and promotion, contracting out all manufacturing. In effect, each firm establishes itself in one or more parts of the value chain on the basis of a strategic analysis of its competitive advantage. Value chain analysis has two steps. Step number one, identify the value chain activities. Identify the value chain activities. The organization identifies the specific value activities that firms in the industry must perform in the process of designing, manufacturing, and providing customer service. For example, see the value chain for the computer manufacturing industry in the market. The development of a value chain depends on the type of industry. For example, the focus in a service industry is on operations and on advertising and promotion rather than on materials and manufacturing. So let us now look at the steps in the value chain and the activities included. Let us have a pen pointer. As you will see now in this table, the left column represents step in the value chain. Then activities, and the last column represents expected output of activities. As for the step in the value chain, step number one which is design. In this step, the activities are performing research and development, and the expected output of activities are I drag this, dragging this picture down. The expected output of activities, completed product design. So we have now each step illustrated and the activities included in this step and the output of the activities in this step. As for step number 2, which is materials acquisition, the activities are purchasing and receiving and stocking these materials. The output of this activity is various parts and materials received. Step number 3, which is materials assembled into components. The activities are converting materials into components and parts used to manufacture the computer. So the output is desired components and parts. Step number 4, intermediate assembly. The activities are converting, assembling, finishing, testing, and grading. The output will be boards, higher level components. Step number 5, computer manufacturing. The manufacturing of the computer. The activities are final assembling, packaging, and shipping the final product. So the output of these activities will be completed computers. Step number 6, wholesaling, warehousing, and moving products to retail locations. Step number 7, retail sales. Activities are making retail sales. The output will be cash receipts. When we sell the products, it's expected to receive cash. Step number 8. Step number 8, customer service. The activities are processing returns, inquiries, and repairs. The output will be serviced and restocked computers. Value chain, as shown now, represents or demonstrates the various steps in the value chain and their activities and expected output of activities. This was for step number 1. As for step number 2, which is to develop a competitive advantage by reducing costs or adding value. In this In this step, number two, the firm determines the nature of its current and potential competitive advantage by studying the value activities and the cost drivers identified earlier. In doing so, the firm must consider the following. Number one, the firm must identify competitive advantage, cost leadership, or differentiation. The analysis of value activities can help management better understand the firm's strategic competitive advantage and its proper positioning in the overall industry value chain. For example, IBM Corporation, Boeing, General Electric, and other firms have increased emphasis on services for their customers, as many of these services are more profitable than the sale of their basic products. Sorry. Number two, identify opportunities for added value. The analysis of value activities can help identify activities in which the firm can add significant value for the customer. For example, food processing plants and packaging plants are now commonly located near their largest customers to provide faster and cheaper delivery. Similarly, large retailers such as Carrefour use computer-based technology to coordinate with suppliers to efficiently and quickly restock each of their stores. In banking, ATM, automated teller machines were introduced to provide improved customer service and to reduce processing costs. Banks have developed online computer technologies to further enhance customer service and to provide an additional opportunity to reduce processing costs. Number three, identify opportunities for reduced costs. A study of its value activities can help a firm determine those parts of the value chain for which it is non-competitive. For example, firms in the electronics business have become large suppliers of parts and sub-assemblies for computer manufacturers and other electronics manufacturers such as Hewlett Packard, Sony, Apple, and Microsoft, among others. The brand name manufacturers have found that outsourcing some of the manufacturing to firms reduce total costs and can improve speed, quality, and competitiveness. And now, this is the end of my session. And I would like to thank all of you, dear students.